Hey everyone, my name is Perry and welcome back to the cassette phase. So you're probably wondering what happened to all of the pictures that I had hanging on the backdrop wall here. Well, I'm in the process of decluttering and streamlining things a little bit here in the den. So I've been taking everything down, actually doing some repainting and things like that. But don't worry, we're still gonna have a really fun, nostalgic place to hang out. And along with a little decluttering, one of my goals for 2025 is to hit 500 subscribers here on the channel. Now don't worry, I'm not going to come on here at the beginning of every video and beg for subs. I'm just not going to do that. But if you are someone that's been hanging out with us for a little while here on the channel and you enjoy the nostalgic content, do me a favor and hit subscribe. Maybe you'll be the person that puts us over that 500 mark. But enough of that, let's move on. So along with my grandparents' duck picture, which you can kind of see a little bit of it up there, I'll give you a closer look at some point. That thing hung in their house for as long as I can remember. But along with that, I'm also making room for a couple of these photo collage frames where I'm working on a little family photo project. You know, these types of things, you've seen them before. So I have to make room for a couple of those. And these are just the pictures that came in the frame, don't worry. I have to go do some printing and some editing and make the pictures look a certain way, you know. But I do have a couple of actual old photos that I'm going to include. Check this one out. Oh yeah, true 80s right there. I mean, there's a picture of the grandfather himself in his awesome living room back in the day. Yeah, so that'll be a fun project. I'll be sure to show you guys an update once that's done. But for today's video, I want to take just a few minutes to talk about my vintage coffee mug collection. Now I'm a big fan of coffee and not really the fancy stuff. You know, I don't need any of that. I'm fine with just, you know, the regular old Keurig that we have out in the kitchen for my morning and usually afternoon cup of coffee. And for whatever reason, I like to drink my coffee out of a vintage mug or a fun retro mug in some cases. You know, you wouldn't think that the container that you drink your coffee out of would matter, but for whatever reason, for me, it does. So I'm not going to show you all of them today because I do have quite a few, and I am going to focus on the true vintage ones today and save the retro mugs for another video. But yeah, I'll take you over to the ottoman here and we'll take a close look at some of my favorites. And I know that might sound boring to some of you, and I completely understand if that's the case. But I do think it might be fun just to take a look at some fun vintage items and of course share some stories and some memories that are associated with those items. So if that sounds like fun to you, come hang out. Okay, but before we get started, I think it only makes sense that I make myself a cup of coffee for the video. And the cup that we're using today is this vintage California Raisins mug. I just love the winter graphics on this. Just cool. So, and like I said, I am good with just the Keurig, nothing fancy. We do keep our coffee in this vintage Tupperware. And we still have some of the peppermint left from the holidays, so let's go with that. All right, and we are almost ready to go. I'm gonna add just like a little tiny amount, like less than half a teaspoon probably, of creamer to this. And we'll take it back to the den and get started on the collection. Okay everyone, welcome back to the rug and welcome back to the ottoman. We've got our coffee, we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first mug that I want to show you today is based on the old 80s cartoon, The Get Along Gang, which I think may have also been like a Hallmark property. You got Montgomery Moose there with his roller skates, gangway for fun. I forgot this character's name, but he's got a skateboard. And then another one on roller skates. And I don't know, there's just something so carefree about the Get Along Gang. I mean, it is just like the definition of simpler times. You know, I've got lots of great memories of the toys from this, and also from that great old Saturday morning cartoon.
Get along gang, each one so special in his own way. Montgomery's the leader and he's such a good sport. Get along gang, get along gang.
And these aren't going to be in any kind of order or anything. They're just going to be whichever one I grab next. Like this one, for example. Nothing fancy about this. You're probably thinking, dude, that's the most plain coffee mug I've ever seen. And I don't know if the color is going to come through very well on camera, but this is like one of those old, like dusty pink, I don't know if you'd call it like mauve, just like a really plain coffee mug that you would see in so many kitchens back in the 80s and the 90s. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they drank out of this exact coffee mug on Alf. I seem to remember Willie going to the cabinet and pulling this one out. So that's why I like to keep it around. Like I said, pretty plain, but honestly one of my favorites. All right, next let's go with, this one's pretty cool. So you're gonna see a lot of like souvenir type mugs, because that's probably still the case, but I know back in the day, anytime you traveled someplace on vacation, one of the souvenirs that you could pick up if you wanted to was a coffee mug. And I just loved the graphics on this one from Destin, Florida. Tell me that just doesn't scream, you know, late 80s, the days that we would wear OP, Ocean Pacific t-shirts and shorts, and like Hobie and all those types of brands like Gotcha. You know, I actually worked for an entire summer in Destin, Florida. I did an internship there when I thought that I wanted to be a professional in the resorts and tourism industry, which I quickly learned was not going to be for me. But nonetheless, I really like that mug. Let's go with, now this one, I think maybe was one of those ones that had flowers in it. Like you could get it as a holder for your flowers. I could be wrong about that, but it is from Flowers Incorporated. So yeah, I have another one similar to this. Just these rainbow colored, you know, fun little mugs. Definitely a trip back in time anytime I see one of those. Here's a cool one. You guys know I'm a big football fan. Monday Night Football on ABC. Remember when it had that logo? That's the logo that I most associate with Monday Night Football. I can almost hear the theme music as I look at that. Cool one to have. And I like that this one's a little bit bigger too. Fit a little bit more coffee in that guy. Let's see. So does anyone remember the Looney Tunes craze of the 90s? I mean, this is definitely from that era. And I love it. You know, Daffy wasn't my favorite Looney Tunes character by any means, but I just love the graphics on that. And most of these are thrift store finds or estate sale finds. Yeah, just cool stuff. Like I said, Looney Tunes was everywhere. Who didn't at least have a Looney Tunes shirt or something back in the early 90s? Here's another sports one from the 80s. The Philadelphia Phillies. Now, living in the Dallas, Texas area, I'm not the biggest fan of Philadelphia sports teams, but I can appreciate the cool retro logos that the Phillies had. Remember when they were wearing this logo on like those powder blue uniforms? I'm thinking of players like Mike Schmidt and Lenny Dykstra, maybe even like John Kruk and some of those guys. A little bit smaller, still a cool mug to have. I like it. Now this one may have actually been designed to put soup in. At least that's what it looks like to me. But how wholesome and nostalgic is that image? You know, I didn't want to do a lot of editing for this video, but I think I'm going to have to at least stick in here the jingle from the Campbell's soup commercials back then.
What kind of Campbell's kid are you? Here we go on the run, busy having some fun. Love to spin and twirl to the curling good world. What kind of Campbell's kid are you? You can play with the stars, kick around some lows, 'cause Campbell's soup's so good. So what kind of Campbell's kid are you?
That takes you back, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, I guess you could heat up some soup in this, but I've always just used it for coffee. Here's another souvenir tourism vacation looking mug. This time from San Diego, which I'll be making a trip out to San Diego this summer. My daughter's in a national dance competition, and we're making the road trip. So I won't be able to go do all the things I want to do I would normally do if I was out there by myself, like all the different filming locations and things. But we're gonna do some fun stuff. I think we're gonna go to Mario World or whatever it's called at Universal. So I'll make sure and get some footage for that. But I just love the graphics on this one. I mean, you can tell what era you're looking at just by the font and the way that graphic is presented. Super cool. More Looney Tunes. And this one is from Astro World, which is down in Houston, or used to be down in Houston. Always cool to see these characters. I like the graphic on it. Pretty old one there too, 1985, Warner Brothers. Astro World was like Six Flags. I don't know if anybody has that near them. But just, an amusement park with a lot of roller coasters and fun rides. Sticking with the vacation souvenir mugs, here's one from Eureka Springs, Arkansas. A lot of you probably already know, but I am originally from Arkansas, and this is kind of like a cool old town in the northern part of the state. A lot of history, a lot of interesting architecture up there. I think it's a popular destination for senior citizens to go on vacation, but it's, you guys know me, that's right up my alley. So I just liked that. I like these mugs where they show little scenes from the town and, let you know where you've been. Nothing to this one other than I just remember it. I remember it either from our house or from a friend's house. I remember opening a pantry or a cabinet door and seeing mugs like this. And kind of like the pink one I showed you before, sometimes these simple ones are my absolute favorites. Like this one is substantially heavier than some of the others. Like it's just solid. And it's, like I said, nothing to it, really simple. but one of my all-time favorites right there. Here's a cool one from 1989 when the Batman movie was everywhere. This logo was all over the place. T-shirts, hats, obviously coffee mugs, for that really cool movie that I think still holds up. I know there's been some good stuff in recent years, but Michael Keaton is still my favorite Batman. I just have a lot of good memories of that movie, and the VHS tape that I had. I got the VHS tape for Christmas one year. Let's see, let's do... All right, we got a Disney one here. I believe from the Disney store. Remember when every mall had a Disney store? And at the back, there was like a big stack of stuffed animals piled almost to the ceiling? That's what this mug makes me think of. Just some classic Disney imagery, like from Fantasia. Really colorful. That's a fun one to have. Now here's one that I've used a lot. This may be one of my most used coffee mugs. You've seen it in my videos before. Alf, Life's a Beach. Absolutely love that graphic. They made some others, I guess in this series, with just different things on them. I'm always looking for those, but it's hard to just find them at like an estate sale or something. But every once in a while you'll see one on eBay for a good price. But love the Alf mug. Now this one is from a restaurant that we used to have here in our area, a pizza place called Mr. Gatti's. I know they had these in other places around the United States as well. It wasn't just a Texas thing, but they were pretty big here for a while. They went away, and eventually we had like a place called Gatti Town, which was kind of like a big giant Chuck E. Cheese or a big giant Showbiz Pizza. But I remember Mr. Gatti's looking like this. And I remember going in there, and I can remember what the atmosphere was like. I can remember the arcade cabinet machines in the corner, and just having a good old time. And orange is one of my favorite colors, as you can kind of tell by the den. So this is a classic for me, one of my favorites. All right, winding down to the end here. Got another sports mug here. My favorite football team, the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they did a bunch of different NFL mugs from this era. This kind, and I've showed you the bigger ones, like the big Steins that I've started collecting. I've shown you those in another video, but I really like the design of this particular mug. They did a similar one for all of the teams, but it had like a metal, like a gold band around the top. And I don't like those as much because if I don't drink my coffee fast enough, I like to put it in the microwave and heat it back up. And I don't think you can do that with those. So yeah, I would love to find some other teams for this style of mug. That'd be cool. Here's another one of those flower, you know, gift set flower mug, flower vase type of mugs. This is a pretty common one. I've actually seen this one several times out and about. Estate sales, thrift stores, garage sales. Usually if it's like 50 cents or $1, I'll grab it, but some of these people want to charge 20 bucks for it or 25, and in that situation I always pass. But cool mug, takes you back to the early 90s for sure. Now this one is from Hot Springs, Arkansas. They have this observation tower, this mountain tower up on top of one of the higher elevations. And I have good memories of going up into that tower as a kid and looking around and just being amazed at how high up we were. And I've actually been back in recent years and taken my own kids to it. So found this one at an estate sale, immediately had to have it. Lots of good memories of that place. Okay, we've got a Garfield mug here with Odie. How can you win against someone who doesn't even know the rules of the game? You know, pretty basic. They just took a panel from one of the strips, looks like, and printed it on a mug, but I'm happy to have it. And then the last one for today. More Looney Tunes, more vacation destination. Just a classic I Love New York. Look at the graphics on that one. Telling you, Looney Tunes were all the rage. This is another one that's heavy. It's got like a really good weight to it. Just solid. So that's going to be it for today. In a future video, like I said, I'll show you some of my bigger, like modern ones that have a lot of the cool, like retro properties that we enjoy represented. So yeah, look forward to that coming soon. And there we are. So I hope that you all enjoyed this little tour of my favorite vintage coffee mugs. As we move on through 2025, I'll be providing plenty of little snapshots like this, where we just hang out in the den and talk about all things retro and nostalgic. So like I mentioned before, if that sounds like something that you would enjoy, consider subscribing. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.